When I was preparing for the talk today, I asked my students, what do you think I should talk about? They overwhelmingly said, talk about archetypes, but whatever you do, don't start with a pop quiz. They hate that. So I thought I'd start today with a pop quiz. It's going to be one question, pass or fail. Here we go. Can you name one character archetype that is present in almost every single Disney movie? And it's not the Disney princess. I can see you didn't study. Let me give you a hint. There's Tigger, Dopey, Dory, Goofy, Olaf? No idea? It's the Fool. Well done. Yes, indeed. It's the Fool. It's the happy, joyful character. It's the one that is always there to make us smile. Now, why do you think Disney feels it's so important that it includes this character in every one of its movies? It just might be that this character is the highest evolution of the human spirit. And by the end of my chat today, I think you will understand why. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's stop and define terms. What is an archetype? Well, an archetype is simply a character that represents someone that we're all familiar with. So an archetype would be, for example, if I say warrior, you can picture in your mind a warrior, yes? If I say ruler, you might see like a king or a queen, right? So these kinds of characters are throughout history, and they're in all cultures, so we can recognize them. And understanding which of these character archetypes you best relate to is the best way for you to understand why you are the way you are at any particular moment in time. Now, you can go on the internet and you can do assessments, and you can find out which archetypes you most align with. For me, I have been reading the archetypes of my students for almost 20 years, and it is simply the very best tool that I have in my toolbox as an educator. So today I'd like to look at 8 different archetypes that I think that you will be able to understand and relate to in your own life. And the first one is the innocent. We're all born on the planet innocent, and we live in the present moment. A child doesn't worry about what's happening at a particular moment in time. A child doesn't worry about what the future holds or what someone did yesterday. A child lives in the present moment with joy and happiness and bliss. And then something bad happens. It happened to each one of you early in life, and you may be able to actually go back and remember that event. It's the moment when you realized that the world is not a safe place. It could be that you got separated from your parents and you thought you would never see them again. Or perhaps a big dog barks at you and you are deeply afraid. Or maybe later in life, what happens is you're in a relationship and your beloved cheats on you and you're heartbroken. So these moments happen over and over again throughout our lives. But we don't want to remain an orphan because the orphan is a victim. And we all know people who are stuck in that orphan stage. As soon as you meet them, they say, yes, this is what happened to me. This is why I am the way I am. So how do we break out of the orphan? Well, we become the warrior. We put up a shield and we say, that's never going to happen to me again. I'm going to protect myself from future harm. So the child would say, I'm going to stay close to mommy and daddy so they don't lose me again. Or in a relationship, you might say, I'm not going to ever trust again because someone will just cheat on me. So that's the warrior. But we don't want to go through life with that shield up that separates us from the world and makes us a fighter. And so what we have to do, we have to lower the shield just a little bit in order to become the caregiver. We have to find a way to reconnect with the world. So we might give love to our grandmother or a friend or even a pet. We might not be ready for that relationship, but we might be ready just to open our hearts a little bit. And when we do that, we begin to heal the orphan. The next stage is the creator. And the creator is the moment in which we're really starting to move the things out of our life that we don't want in order to bring the things in that we do want. So we start to organize our lives, our families, our careers, our schooling, but we're really starting to create the life that will be meaningful to us. In the next stage, we're the ruler. We're fully in our power. We know who we are. We know our gifts to give to the world. And this is a moment when we find ourselves really able to accomplish and achieve a lot. Now, we have to be a bit careful as the ruler, because we all know those egoic rulers, the kind that suck the energy out of the room because they need the attention. They always have to be the leader. That's not the right kind of ruler. It's not the kind of ruler that we want to be on our heroic journey. We want to be the ruler that is willing to lead when we're needed. Next comes the sage, and the sage is the wise person. It's the inner wisdom. It's where we start to really understand the deeper meaning of life. We can look at life from a long-range point of view. And in doing so, we start to reject drama. So if you're a person who has deep wisdom, you probably have no tolerance for drama, correct? Next, we come to what I think could be the highest evolution of the human spirit, the fool. Now, who would want to be a fool? The idea sounds ridiculous. Nobody wants to be called a fool. But the fool is the happy person who is not afraid to aim high. And through various attempts and failures, the fool will succeed while deeply enjoying life. Those are the words of Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. Now, the fool has been through all of the other phases. They have suffered as the orphan. They have put the wall up as the warrior. They have given care and love and compassion as the caregiver. They have created the life that they want. They have been strong and being willing to lead other people as the ruler, and they have developed the wisdom of the sage. But the fool thinks none of that matters very much. What truly matters is that each of us is able to find the gift that we were born on the planet to give and successfully give that to the world, and to do so with joy while blessing other people. So, what does a fool look like? Well, a fool lives in the present moment. They're joyful, they're fun, they're never boring. There may be a little glitter involved, and maybe some mischief. Maybe we should take a look at someone I think is a perfect fool. Let's look at an example. You may be familiar with Richard Branson, yes? So Richard Branson made a bet in 2013 with Air Asia chief Tony Fernandez. They both have Formula One teams. They both have airlines. And they decided whoever's team beat the other one, that person would have to be the flight attendant on the other's flight. So you can see who lost. Richard Branson embraced this 100%. He even shaved his legs. It was a joy to behold. And everybody that saw and watched loved it. Did he care what people thought about him? Not a single bit. In his blog, he writes, if somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you're not sure you can do it, say yes, and then figure it out later. Even if I have no idea where I'm going or how I'm going to get there, I prefer to say yes instead of no. Opportunity favors the bold. I have tried my whole life to embrace the fool. When I was 50 years old, the fool in me rose up and said, "Get thee to Europe." So I packed 2 bags, I said goodbye to Florida, and I moved to Switzerland. I bought a scooter named Lester, and it was the best decision that I could have ever made. Never looked back. It was joyful. Now you may say, well, it's okay to be a fool in America, but does that really work in Europe? It does. It actually works in Europe. Let me give you one example. Since I came here, I've had the opportunity to be invited to a number of really fancy, elegant evenings. And there's almost always a theme, and I try to embrace it. So on one particular occasion, I was invited to a celebrity Hollywood ball, and we were asked to please dress as fancy as possible. And I had what I thought was a perfect outfit. Long pink gown, long white gloves, satin over the elbow, I had crystal shoes, I had the Phantom of the Opera mask, and I felt like it was a pretty okay outfit. And I tried it on the night before, just to make sure everything was good. And then the next morning, when I woke up on the day of the event, the fool in me rose up again and said, "Do you want to have fun or do you want to be glamorous?" And I can show you what happened. Instead, I decided to dress like the Joker. Now, I was for sure the least elegant person at that party, but I absolutely had the most fun. And at the end of the evening, when they gave the awards, I won the award for Best Dressed. And the trophy sits on my desk still today. Now, what can you do to embrace your inner fool? Well, 3 things. The first is to try to start every morning with a belly laugh. It's very healthy. Laughter is really very healing. You may say, yeah, but how can I be lighthearted when there's so much going on in the world? We've had COVID and we have global crises. I don't have the energy. Well, the fool just might be the solution. Because when you laugh, you bring in oxygen-rich air, which is very nourishing to your heart and your mind and your blood and your lungs. It's also really good to fight illnesses and lower stress. So try to start every day with a belly laugh. Next, say yes, even when you're scared and unsure. That's a hard one, right? Well, I turned retirement age earlier this year, and I decided that I'm going to retire in Italy. I don't speak the language. I don't know anyone in the small village that I'm going to move to. In fact, I can't even read the papers that I have to sign. So, there's a lot of reason for me to be afraid, especially when so many people are telling me you're crazy. What are you doing? But I have a tool in my box called my douche filter. And every time somebody says to me, "Oh, I would never do that," or "Are you sure that's a good idea? Have you considered the consequences of this?" I just say to them, "Here, hold my beer and watch this." And I do it. And that gets rid of them pretty quickly. So this autumn, I'm going to be living La Bella Vita in Italy, actively searching for other fools. Which brings me to my next point. Try to spend time with fools as often as possible. Have a best friend who is a fool. Have a group of friends who are ridiculous. It's really fun and healthy. I work with a bunch of fools. And it's never a dull moment. We play just as much as we work. I highly recommend it. So in closing, I would like to encourage you to live your life with a little bit more mischief. Put some play in every day. Go ahead, make a fool of yourself. Thank you.